249. Wu Sangui opens the gates to the Qing. In 1644, Li Zicheng formally established his regime in Xi'an, proclaiming the Shun dynasty, Da Shuan. With an army of 1 million, he crossed the Yellow River and marched in 2 separate columns toward Beijing. The 2 forces joined under the city walls in March, where they met little resistance. The 3 elite Ming military camps stationed outside Beijing surrendered immediately. The fall of the Ming dynasty. The Shun army launched a full-scale assault on Beijing. The following night, Emperor Chongzhen climbed to the top of Coal Hill, Jingshan, behind the Forbidden City, and saw the entire city ablaze. Realizing that his dynasty was doomed, he rushed back to the palace and rang the emergency bell to summon his officials. He waited for hours, no one came. Knowing the end had come, Chongzhen returned to Coal Hill, where he hanged himself from a scholar tree near the Shouhuang Pavilion. After 277 years of rule, the Ming dynasty fell. Li Zicheng's rule in Beijing. The next day, the Shun army breached Beijing's defenses. General Lu Zongmin led the first troops into the city, followed by Li Zicheng himself, who rode into the Forbidden City, wearing a straw hat, a blue cloth robe, and mounted on a fine warhorse. The people of Beijing welcomed the rebel forces with great celebration, lighting lanterns as if it were a festival. The new government immediately issued decrees to stabilize public order, urging citizens to resume their livelihoods. At the same time, it severely punished corrupt officials and members of the Ming royal family. Lu Zongmin and Li Guo were tasked with confiscating the wealth hoarded by imperial relatives and corrupt officials, using it to fund the Shun army. Those who refused to hand over their riches were severely punished, and a few of the most hated Ming nobles were executed. One of those arrested was Wu Xiang, a high-ranking Ming official. Some advisors warned Li Zicheng that Wu Xiang's son, Wu Sangui, was the Ming general commanding the vital Shanhai Pass. If Wu Sangui could be convinced to surrender, it would eliminate a major threat. Li Zicheng found this reasoning persuasive and ordered Wu Xiang to write to his son, urging him to submit to the Shun dynasty. Wu Sangui's dilemma. At the time, Wu Sangui was stationed in Ningyuan, leading the Ming forces defending the northeastern frontier against the Qing. When Li Zicheng's army advanced toward Beijing, the Ming court repeatedly summoned Wu Sangui to return and defend the capital. By the time Wu Sangui reached Shanhai Pass, Beijing had already fallen. A few days later, he received his father's letter, urging him to surrender. He hesitated. If he surrendered, he would lose his status as a loyal Ming general. If he resisted, he would face Li Zicheng's formidable army, which far outnumbered his own forces. He also worried about his family and wealth in Beijing, which were now under Li Zicheng's control. Uncertain, Wu Sangui continued marching toward Beijing, hoping to assess the situation firsthand. The betrayal of Wu Sangui. When Wu Sangui's forces reached Luanzhou, they encountered refugees fleeing from Beijing. Curious, Wu questioned them about recent events. At first, he grew furious upon learning that his father had been arrested and his family wealth confiscated. But his rage turned into uncontrollable fury when he heard that his beloved concubine, Qing Yuan, had been taken by the Shun army. At that moment, Wu Sangui made his decision: he would never surrender to Li Zicheng. Instead, he retreated to Shanhai Pass and ordered his troops to don white armor, declaring that he would avenge the fallen Chongzhen emperor. Wu Sangui's call for Qing reinforcements. Li Zicheng, hearing of Wu's defiance, personally led 200,000 troops to besiege Shanhai Pass. Wu Sangui, terrified of facing the Shun army alone, made a fateful decision. He sent an urgent message beyond the Great Wall, begging the Qing for assistance. The Qing regent, Prince Dorgan, saw this as a golden opportunity. He immediately sent back a reply agreeing to help, and soon after, personally led an army of 100,000 Qing troops toward Shanhai Pass. Wu Sangui, desperate and eager, personally rode out of the pass with 500 elite soldiers to welcome Dorgan. Upon meeting, Wu bowed low and pleaded for Qing support, promising to fight alongside them against Li Zicheng. Dorgan, seizing the moment, gladly agreed. Wu Sangui then invited Dorgan into the pass, where they sacrificed a white horse and a black ox, swearing an alliance. The Battle of Shanhai Pass. Li Zicheng's 200,000-strong army arrived from the south, forming an immense battle line along the mountains and sea. From the city walls, Dorgan carefully observed the Shun army, recognizing that defeating them head-on would be difficult. He devised a plan. Wu Sangui would lead the vanguard, engaging the enemy first. Qing forces would hide in ambush, waiting for the right moment. Dorgan and his commanders would observe the battle from the mountains. As the battle began, Wu Sangui's forces charged out of the city, only to be quickly surrounded by the Shun army. Wu's troops were trapped, unable to break free. Just as the battle reached its climax, a fierce windstorm erupted, kicking up massive clouds of dust and sand, reducing visibility to almost zero. At this moment, Dorgan ordered the Qing forces to attack. The Qing army suddenly emerged, launching a devastating surprise assault on the exhausted and disoriented Shun soldiers. Panic spread through Li Zicheng's ranks as they struggled to determine who their new attackers were. The confusion shattered their formations. By the time the storm settled and visibility returned, they saw the braided-haired Qing soldiers cutting through their ranks. Realizing he was outmaneuvered, Li Zicheng ordered a retreat. But by then, it was too late. His army suffered a crushing defeat. The Qing conquered Beijing. Li Zicheng's weakened forces retreated back to Beijing. Seeing the situation hopeless, he held a hasty imperial coronation ceremony in the Forbidden City before abandoning the capital the next morning. 3 days later, Dorgan led the Qing army into Beijing, declaring it the new capital of the Qing dynasty. In October 1644, the Qing court brought the Yongxuanji emperor to Beijing, officially establishing their rule over China. The end of the peasant uprisings. By the following year, the Qing launched 2 major offensives against the remnants of Li Zicheng's forces. Aji Ge, Wu Sangui, and Shan Keshi led one army toward Xi'an. Duo Duo and Kong Yid led another toward central China. After a brutal battle at Tongguan, Li Zicheng was forced to abandon Xi'an and retreat toward Hubei. A few months later, in Jiugong Mountain, Hubei, he was ambushed by local landlord militias and killed in battle. Meanwhile, Zhang Xianzhong continued his resistance in Sichuan, establishing the Great Western Kingdom, Daxi. However, in 1647, the Qing invaded Sichuan, and Zhang was killed at Phoenix Mountain in northern Sichuan. With both Li Zicheng and Zhang Xianzhong dead, the last major peasant rebellions of the late Ming era had been crushed. 250. Shi Kefa's last stand at Yangzhou. When news of Emperor Chongjin's suicide on Coal Hill reached the Ming southern capital of Nanjing, chaos erupted. In a desperate attempt to preserve the Ming dynasty, officials crowned Prince Zhu Yusong as the new emperor, establishing the southern Ming regime. He became known as Emperor Hongguang. However, Hongguang was weak, corrupt, and obsessed with pleasure, completely unfit to lead. His court was dominated by Ma Shiying and other former followers of the infamous eunuch Wei Zhongxian, who had no intention of resisting the Qing invasion. Instead, they indulged in luxurious banquets and debauchery. One of the few loyal ministers, Shi Kefa, was reluctant to support Zhu Yusong's coronation but agreed to avoid further division. Once the new emperor took the throne, Shi Kefa volunteered to command the military front lines. At that time, 4 major Ming military camps, known as the 4 garrisons, were stationed along the northern bank of the Yangtze River. However, these garrisons were filled with corrupt, power-hungry generals who were more interested in fighting among themselves than defending against the Qing. Despite these challenges, Shi Kefa held great respect among southern troops, and when he arrived in Yangzhou, the commanders had no choice but to obey his orders. He personally met with the generals, persuading them to end their infighting and deploy their forces around Yangzhou for defense. Taking command himself, he became known as Governor-General Shi Dushi. Shi Kefa's devotion to his troops. As Governor-General, Shi Kefa led by example, enduring hardships alongside his soldiers. His discipline and courage earned him widespread admiration among the troops. On New Year's Eve, while his soldiers rested, Shirkuffar remained alone in his office, reviewing documents late into the night. Feeling exhausted, he called for his cook and requested some wine and side dishes. The cook hesitated before responding. Per your orders, all the meat was distributed to the soldiers for the holiday. There is nothing left. Shirkuffar sighed and said, Then bring me some salt and soy sauce to go with my wine. As he drank, his thoughts darkened. The Ming dynasty was on the brink of collapse, the southern Ming court was corrupt, and the Qing invasion was imminent. Overwhelmed with sorrow, he silently wept, unknowingly drinking several more cups until he fell asleep at his desk. At dawn, the officials and military commanders arrived at his office for their daily meeting but found the gates still closed. Surprised, since Shirkuffar was known for rising early, they waited in confusion. A soldier eventually informed them. The Governor-General drank last night and has not yet awakened. The mayor of Yangzhou, Ren Minyu, smiled and said, Governor sure works tirelessly. If he finally got a good night's sleep, let's not disturb him. He deserves it. To let Shirkuffar rest longer, Ren even ordered the night watchman to repeat the fourth drumbeat, signaling that dawn had not yet arrived. When Shirkuffar finally woke up, he was shocked to see that the sun was already high in the sky. Hearing the false night drum still beating, he furiously summoned his soldiers. Who dares violate my military orders and deceive me? When the soldiers explained Ren Minyu's intentions, Shirkuffar fell silent. Instead of being pleased, he resolved never to drink again, dedicating himself completely to defending Yangzhou. The Qing army advances. Soon after, Prince Dodo, Duo, of the Qing launched a massive southern invasion. Shirkuffar mobilized the 4 garrisons and won several victories against the Qing. However, the southern Ming court collapsed into internal strife. The Ming generals Wu Liangyu, seeking to seize power, launched an attack on Nanjing. In panic, Ma Shiying withdrew the 4 garrisons from Yangzhou, ordering Shirkuffar to return to Nanjing to protect him. Shirkuffar knew this was a terrible mistake. The Qing army was advancing, and Yangzhou was now exposed. However, to prevent civil war, he obeyed the order and crossed the Yangtze River toward Nanjing. By the time he arrived, Zhuo Liangyu had already been defeated. Realizing the disaster that had unfolded, Shirkuffar rushed back to Yangzhou, only to find that the Qing army was already at the city walls. Yangzhou under siege. Recognizing the crisis, Shirkuffar urgently called for reinforcements, but none of the Ming commanders responded. Yangzhou was now alone. Dodo first attempted to negotiate, sending 5 different messengers to convince Shirkuffar to surrender. Shirkuffar refused every time. Furious, Dodo ordered a full siege of Yangzhou. Inside the city, panic spread. Some fearful commanders defected, including a high-ranking general and a military inspector, who fled the city with their troops and surrendered to the Qing. This further weakened Yangzhou's defenses. Despite this, Shirkuffar gathered all remaining officials and soldiers, delivering a powerful speech, urging them to fight to the death. Realizing that the Western Gate was the most vulnerable point, he personally led the defense there. Inspired by his determination, the soldiers swore to fight alongside him. The fall of Yangzhou. The Qing attacked relentlessly, day and night, but Yangzhou's defenders valiantly repelled each assault. Frustrated, Dodo ordered cannons to bombard the city, focusing on the Western Gate, where Shirkuffar was stationed. One by one, the walls crumbled. Finally, after a massive artillery barrage, a breach was created. Qing forces poured into the city. As the defenders fell one by one, Shirkuffar attempted to commit suicide, drawing his sword to slash his own throat. However, his loyal officers rushed forward and stopped him, dragging him out through the East Gate in an attempt to escape. At that moment, a squad of Qing soldiers spotted them. Seeing Shirkuffar's official robes, they shouted, "Who are you?" Fearing that his men would be slaughtered, Shirkuffar boldly stepped forward and declared, "I am Governor-General Shir. Kill me now." In April 1645, Shirkuffar was captured and executed. The Yangzhou Massacre. Enraged by the heavy casualties suffered by the Qing army, Prince Dodo ordered the massacre of Yangzhou's population. For 10 days, the Qing army slaughtered tens of thousands of civilians. This horrific event became known in history as the 10 Days of Yangzhou. Shirkufa's legacy. Following the massacre, Shirkufa's adopted son, Shirdui, searched for his father's body. However, due to the overwhelming number of corpses and the intense heat causing rapid decay, he could not find him. Instead, he buried Shirkufa's robe and ceremonial tablet outside Yangzhou's Meiweiling, Plum Blossom Hill, now known as Shirkufa's clothing and crown tomb. The fall of Nanjing and the Southern Ming. Only a few days after Yangzhou fell, the Qing army marched on Nanjing. Southern Ming officials either fled or surrendered. The Hongguang Emperor was captured, and his regime was wiped out. The Qing continued their conquest, issuing the infamous Q order, forcing all Han Chinese men to shave their foreheads and adopt the Manchu Q hairstyle. Keep your hair, lose your head. Keep your head, lose your hair. Outraged, local resistance erupted. In Jiangyin, under the leadership of Yan Yuan, the people fought off 200,000 Qing troops for 80 days before being overwhelmed. In Jiading, residents held out for 3 months, suffering 3 massacres in which over 20,000 people died. This became known as the 3 Massacres of Jiading.